topics that I'm gonna go into more detail at our regular meeting. So topics for the second. First of all, I'm gonna hammer away on the bridge. I'm gonna hammer away on the delays and the impact to our town and residents. Also gonna talk about the fountain, delays and impact to the town and residents as well. Going to talk about ongoing code enforcement issues, basic homeowner and business owner responsibilities, overgrown grass, weeds, bushes, and a host of other unsightly conditions are factors of blight. It must be enforced. I'm going to go into depth on the traffic studies that have been done throughout our community. We need to discuss the findings and create an action plan on those. I'm going to hammer away again, banners, yard signs for the 250th year of America. Please keep pushing. Proceeds go to help defer the 4th of July costs. Also, we are collecting our first sponsorship check tomorrow. There you go, for the Ridley Park 4th of July event. So that's some positive news. Got to continue to talk it up, talk about the opportunities for businesses to assist and put their name to our great event. I'm going to discuss Memorial Day, recap it, recognize some of the individuals that really helped make that special. Junior Counselor Program. I'm excited to say, got an extremely strong young man, Gabe Walgren. You'll see it on the agenda. Hopefully that passes. We get him in the seat and get him involved in our town doing some really positive things. We're going to talk a little bit Ridley Park AC, update on baseball, softball season, along with registration being open for football and cheer. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And with that, we'll go ahead and hand it over to Trish for the manager's report.
Thank you, Madam President. As reported by the engineer, the bridge opening has been delayed until September due to utility relocation issues. Once I get more information on that from PennDOT, I will certainly post that on Facebook and our website. I'm waiting for a press release from them in regards to that. Also, the 4th of July celebration is now just 1 month away, and Ridley Park has a full day of non-stop excitement planned. It's an all-hands-on-deck event, so if you're interested in volunteering on the 4th of July, please contact Carroll Hall. Also, I wanted to share an update regarding the Greenways grant. Unfortunately, we were not awarded the grant last year, but however, we recently submitted a new application for this year's grant cycle and will remain hopeful for a favorable outcome. If awarded, the funding will allow us to extend the walking trail by the lake in honor of Mayor Hank Everly. And that is all I have.
Thank you very much, Trish. All right, and with that, we'll go on ahead to council business. This is an opportunity for any member of council to discuss any topic from the borough that they choose. And we'll start it off down on the end here with Councilor Viera.
I always get to start. Good evening, everybody. I have a few items for this evening. So first, thank you in my absence for moving forward with the EMS intergovernmental agreement. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You will see we've been going back and forth with the solicitor. So as the month kind of progresses towards the regular meetings, we're going to have advertisement. You're going to see some emails coming back and forth from myself, detailed emails where you can look at both the intergovernmental agreement and the contract that we have. As a finance committee, I believe we're good there. The money's budgeted, everything's good there. So more to come with that, but July 1st is the date that we're looking to start. All the towns are on board, everybody's moving forward and in the right direction. So we're looking for a 7/1 date of start for service. 4th of July, as everybody has kind of talked about, is only about a month away. So you're going to see many posts now that Memorial Day has passed us by. Many posts on the activities. We have the banners, we yard signs, we have t-shirts. The day is gonna be amazing, and thank you already to everybody who's helping with it, and everybody that will help along the way. If you're interested in volunteering, as Trish said, please reach out to Borough Hall. My next two are a little bit more in depth. I wanted to start a discussion on, and the mayor had it in his report, on code enforcement. So, we talked a little bit about, changing the codes and doing that kind of stuff. I'm more interested in the actual action arm of the code enforcement. I guess just, council understands, but just for everybody, we have Lynn Architect who does our codes. Lynn Architect, they go through and they write building permits. They do things of that nature. They're not an on-the-site code enforcement arm. Before, we had both. We had a code enforcement arm that did building permits and went through everything. They were in town every single day. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. It was what it was, but we had enforcement. We had quality of life issues being handled. Grass, trash, people starting work without permits. All that type of stuff went away when we switched to Lynn Architect. I'm not saying Lynn Architect is bad, because they're not. Ryan is a really great guy who has a lot of knowledge. But we have to get the other piece to the puzzle. Right now, there's 50% being done, and there's issues that are arising with a lot of, folks that I've spoken with, and obviously that are reaching out to everybody. We have to have an enforcement arm to be able to control these basic issues. And I just want to throw it out there, to council to, we have to do something. We have to move forward. Whatever, ideas would be great. Suggestions, I can give you suggestions. I can tell you what we had before and how that worked. But something needs to be done because it's not acceptable the way things are going because they're just basic things and, the stress that it puts on our office, right? So where someone, might have seen someone with high grass, now they're calling into Danielle and then Danielle has to talk to Trish because it's been 5 times and then she reaches out to Ryan from Lynn Architect. And I can tell you, because I've seen the bills before, for him to write a letter, it's like $800. Who the heck wants somebody to write a letter for $800? Not me. Never have, never will. But that's what the cost is. For a simple letter to say, hey, cut your grass. And then they have 10 days to cut their grass. So really, nothing happens, right? Whereas if we had somebody patrolling around, maybe they could talk to the homeowner while they're there. To say, hey, do you mind cutting your grass? I don't know. Maybe it's somebody who was on vacation. I don't know what the issue would be. But the interaction would save us so much time and so much stress and so much money because every single time that happens, we're billing. At least in the past, that's the way that it's been. Lynn they're a great architectural firm. They're great for building permits. But when it comes to the enforcement part, I think it's pretty obvious and they've stated that much. They don't do that. That's not what they do. So we need somebody to do that. And we can't run our staff that we have here ragged, trying to run our, hey Trish, go out and enforce high grass. It doesn't work. We want her to do permits. We need Danielle to do what she's doing. So I just wanted to start that discussion. If anybody, been non-existent. So there is no judge hearing anything, there is no jury, and when they if they write you a ticket for high grass, it has to go before the magistrate. It doesn't, they don't get to fine you and then you have to pay it. You get to go in front of a judge and you have a hearing, and 9 times out of 10, at least from what I remember and recall when they were here, a lot of times if you go to court, they'll say, did you fix it? If a person shows them a picture, hey, I cut my grass, they're usually okay with that. They don't cite anybody. So they're not the ones that are picking what they're doing, and it's not the same person writing the permit. So in that scenario, you had Tony writing the permit, and then you had one of his guys or girls that were driving around doing quality of life issues. So they were two completely separate people that were doing it. So with the example they're giving, we're paying Lynn Architect, however much we're paying them, I'd like to compare it if we could, but we're paying them, and then if they're looking for someone like Meg, then we're paying someone like Meg too. So that's two things. If you have a company, and most companies, especially with these small towns, if you look, they deal with one company because they do it all. They don't do, piecemeal where they do the permits and somebody else does that. It would cost too much money and these towns can't afford that. It's more of a collective, hey, we can provide you with this type of service, and there's probably more people out there than just Commonwealth, but that's who we used for 10 years, I guess. For better or for worse, that's who we used, and stuff was getting done. So I don't know about the conflict. I would think that the judge would handle any type of stuff.
And that they're following the code that exists
Correct.
on the books, so it's not like they're grabbing at, things.
I'll check it out, man.
Yeah.
Can run it through them and
Yeah.
see if maybe they have somebody else in there within the department.
Yeah,
All that they have is just having one person do all that. Can he do it? Sure, he can do that, but it's a conflict.
and it's gonna cost a ton of money for if Ryan was, you know what I mean, if he was to try to come in and do it. I mean, I just know from one enforcement particular situation that I have in my head, he wrote a letter about a driveway, and on the bill list, it was $800.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
To write a freaking letter. I mean, I would have drafted the letter myself if it was like legal, but that's crazy, $800. It's just, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's never gonna work for us. We don't have that kind of money to be able to do that.
I would think just off the top of my head, that would be a job for, like, I know before we were talking about having Jenny do it in the office, but that doesn't seem like that's gonna go through a flow. I know a lot of other municipalities just have an old retired guy working part-time, which is not a full-time job. It's just part-time, don't have to, if that's what you want,
Yeah.
that could.
And yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, what we talk about when we talk about like the codes, right? So I appreciate what you're doing, I really do, I respect it. You believe that changing the code or, making it more able to be read and understood is great, but like this issue, this particular issue, is so important because it affects property value, it affects like a ton of different things, and it's like, that's where all the focus should be. And then we can do, like, once we get that in place, then we can do, the other stuff. But like, that is like critical, and whatever we wanna do, if we wanna ask other towns.
Here's one else stuff, one more thing like that isn't.
Yeah, that's cool.
We'll look at it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's super important, so, yeah. Okay, anybody else with that issue?
I mean, I'm on board, I think, a part-time person, and it should be done sooner than later, I think, because, again, having residents for 2 years and nothing get done is outrageous. Like, I'm done with it. So I think we need to, sorry.
Rather than bring it up when it's my turn, I'm definitely on board with this, and I'm on board with bringing back who we have. They're familiar with everything, they know our ordinances, they're familiar how things work, and it was effective. We're seeing it, once it went away, we're starting to see that we have problems. We have a lot of problems, so that would be my recommendation, is bring back who we have.
Well, I'm sorry, the only thing that I would suggest is that, before we go out and tell somebody that's what we want to have the parameters of what we're really looking for. Tell us what you look for.
following
One
the
example is,
code.
you had a guy that used to be an inspector that went out and did the UNOs. For my property,
Right.
I needed 10 concrete blocks to be changed. 10 concrete, $4,000, $400 a block, square. I've got, 30 blocks. He wanted the whole thing changed for aesthetic purposes. And by the way, get a permit and give me 50% of the, permit fee for my cost. That's crossing the line. That's the kind of thing I would like to see us stay away from.
And that,
Aesthetic purposes is not,
and that was, when did you get your permit done? Do you remember, like roughly?
that was given to me by the previous owner.
So like, what was it, like year wise, was it like a year ago, 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Because, so we as a council, Councilor Pinto at the time was in charge of code, revamped our codes. So as far as, just so you know, for your knowledge, curbs and sidewalks. Curbs and sidewalks were like a non-negotiable for a while, which I agree with you, if a block looks fine, it's okay, it doesn't need to be aesthetic. But we did rectify that about a year ago, year and a half ago. So all that stuff doesn't apply anymore. So if like the block looks fine, the block is okay, as long as it's not a tripping hazard or any of that type of stuff. And same thing with the curb. The curb can kind of be, I'm not a concrete guy, but it can be molded. If it's able to be molded rather than have to rip it all out and put it all in, does that make sense? You can do
Yeah,
that
there's a lot of
now.
guidelines for it, yeah.
But but the stuff that you're describing, that's not the law in Ridley Park anymore. We changed it so that you don't like have to do any of that stuff. You're able to get away with, as long as it's good, like you're saying 30 blocks and maybe 29 of them are good and one's bad, and he's telling you to do all 30. You don't have to do that anymore. It's the one.
Trish, I just have a question, and maybe, I know it's not his decision, or maybe I should be asking any, do you think Ryan would have a problem with us having somebody doing this?
No, because he told me that was his job, he was hired to do the permits and the inspections for those permits.
So I'm talking about enforcing the life,
Yeah, I think
I
we
mean,
should
quality
probably
of
have it.
so he would recommend us getting
Yeah,
something, right?
because that would,
Okay.
that would lower
Yes, he
our.
wants us to do that, he does. And what I was planning on saying, that was our original plan here at Biddy Park, is to have a part-time permit clerk come in, push out permits, but also drive around in the neighborhood, look at high grass, come back to the office, push out those violations or whatever the case would be, and then if it didn't or wasn't answered in the time frame, then it would be addressed with Ryan. That was, but unfortunately, what happened in the front office, some unforeseen circumstances where we had to bring in, a permit clerk that is basically doing two jobs at this point.
I
Because
think
we are
it's
short-staffed.
our
And Ryan
responsibility
is
for council is
100%
to bring somebody
about
in.
getting, yes, he would much rather have someone from this office do that.
Yeah, when I came into this and started this, I could understand that if Jenny was gonna take care of it, it's fine, it's gonna take some time to train her and get her up to speed, but she's not gonna do it. And I totally agree.
We got somebody, to train.
And that's where, yeah, and I'm sure Ryan can give us some tips. You know, not who to pick, we can pick that, but, what should be in the list of stuff that they can do.
Cool, sure, works. Thank you very much. And my last item I had was, and this is just, I guess, a request. Do we have a way that we can, in some way, have our engineer present to council, like maybe like a mid-year review of what we're doing? Because I know I'm running into it with like the library, you know, where we're like coming up on deadlines, there's some things that we need done, we just kind of need execution. And I don't, you know, I think that she's a very nice person, but I need something to be executed, and if she's not doing that, if we could speak to whoever she reports to, and just put a little oomph behind it, it would be much appreciated, because we're, you know, we're investing, I'll use that word, investing a lot of money into her, and on the results end, it's a little rough, so, that's all that I have, thank you.
I was definitely gonna go in the code enforcement issue, but I think we touched base on that, so that was my one thing. The one thing I want to do tonight is I'm gonna make a motion to amend the agenda. And the motion's gonna read, to allow Trish, the borough manager, to execute all documents in regards to the land donation of 32 West Sellers. As everybody knows, Danielle did a great job reaching out. We saw that it was still up for sale, and we reached out and put an offer in as a donation, and they accepted it, but they're still a work in progress. So, in order for us to keep going and get this thing moving along, we really need Trish to just be able to do everything because it's moving quickly. So, I'm just gonna make that recommendation just prior to everything. So, other than that, I don't have anything else. So, like I said, the code enforcement's a major issue. I don't see a reason why we shouldn't just go back to who we had. They're familiar with everything, they're familiar with the ordinances, and we need to fix some of these things. So that's my recommendation. That would be my recommendation as we move forward. So.
I was gonna actually bring up the code and stuff too, just because it's a big issue, but I'm on board, with moving forward, getting someone part-time, out there on the street. I will make a motion, to just update the wording on the two, part-timers, well, to add the verbiage that it's, part-time police. Cause it just has their names in the hour and wait for what, but that's it, just add it. That's it, yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah, absolutely. We lost two part-timers, so with the two that we lost, that's pretty much it.
Okay, the only thing I'm gonna bring up is, a civil service issue, maybe, I don't know. Any of our policemen veterans? Any of our policemen veterans?
Yes,
Yes.
Rob Newton is.
Okay. And the part-timers don't have to follow the civil service or anything? Okay.
We have two that are, I mean,
Okay, yeah, I don't know what the guidelines are.
yeah, no, they're part-time. No, I think when we look into going full-time and promotions, that's when we start having to get civil service.
And what's the price difference? One's 26, one's 30?
Years of experience.
Yeah.
There's I'm not sure if this is the case, but, maybe a year or two ago, we changed it to, because you have to do so much FTO, so that's like training time. We didn't wanna, it didn't make sense to pay someone the full amount if you're in training, right? So, training hours were less, and then once you get through FTO and we know you're with us ready to go, then we pay you a little more money. So that's probably the difference in the two.
That second is probably ready to go.
Yeah, then the only thing I was gonna say during my council business, other than to also encourage, anybody who's at home who would like a
try to do that, but it's hard. I mean, it's hard to, you know, because you're one of so many people that live on the lake.
Yeah.
We're kind of, by us putting out, we're gonna be in that area, we could try to pinpoint it to, hey, we're gonna try and get your street or pick a time. You mentioned bagging them up. If you are bagging them up, just put them out to the trash.
Well,
I mean, I'm just saying, I mean, if that's the case,
Yeah, time consuming.
put them out to the trash. I know, well, I'm just saying, because you said you bagged them up. So if that's the case, that they'll take them. But I understand it's probably not that easy, and I mean, we're lucky enough to have the equipment to scoop them up, but unfortunately, you're in an area that's tough to get to and plan out. But yeah, when we get to that point, let's try to see if we can pinpoint a date, Trish, that they're gonna ride down the pike, and we'll try to let them know a day or two in advance, that's when they're gonna come through. But just a reminder that, I mean, we are, you know, lucky enough right now that if you have a little yard or a small yard, yard waste gets taken every trash day you have. All right, so if you wanna just get rid of it, any leaves that didn't make it through, throw them out now, so.
Okay.
But first, we gotta focus on cutting the grass and the summer, right, before we get into, the leaves.
The other thing I have is, every time I kind of stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance, I look out the window and say, when the heck are we gonna paint this place? And then I started talking to a couple other people, and, we're gonna be delayed on a couple of things that we want. And then I started thinking, well, why can't we just fix the place up? And I started doing a little bit of research, and since we're in the historical district, and this is a historical building, the Borough of Jenkintown just received a little while ago an $800,000 check for the Borough Hall. And I'm wondering if we could do some kind of motion to get our engineers to say, hey, check it out, and follow it.
See, you just brought up the engineer. When the engineer writes a grant now, there's a cost associated with that grant writing.
I'm asking.
Yeah, but that's why I'm just saying, you know, so these things are out there, but we gotta work on that process.
This is what we were at the beginning of the year. We had an engineer, and I know we don't wanna go down this path again. Come on. We had an engineer in the beginning of the year that found us a grant for the library. I don't need the audience comment, but I've been talking to the engineer. All I want from our engineer right now is to find these grants. They're out there, and that's what I was told in the beginning of the year, that's what they do, and that's what they're good at. But I feel like everything has to go from our lead for this, and it never had to in the past. We didn't find the grants are out there. You just found a grant, so yes, let's get the ball rolling if that's the case.
Yeah, but that's here or there. I mean, that looks like that hasn't been painted in 15 years. I mean,
I'm not arguing with you, and I welcome it. I hope it's successful. And again, this isn't a shot at our current engineer. It's just a compliment to our old engineer. They made that happen for the library. We're praying it still happens. But at the same time, that's all I'm saying. It's not like, I know I'm bringing up the past, but I'm just saying that was already done. Things like that were taken care of, and that's what we need to get back to. And that's all I was recommending for her at our last meeting, is just to be proactive with this. Don't wait on us. There's grants out there. Find them for us. Lead us to the water. Like, let us see where it is so we can say, yes, that works for us. Like, it's perfect. Yeah, Jenkintown found it. Let's get it. Let's go get it. I'm all about it. Let's find it.
all I'm saying is, if we're gonna nudge him, there's one more thing we can nudge.
I agree, but like, I'm not a grant writer. You're not a grant writer. The grant writers are built into that company, so they need to find this stuff and they need to get it going. That's all I'm saying. Again, it's not a shot at our current engineer. It's just a motivational thing saying, let's get it. Because our past engineer was able to get it. And the proof is over in that library. Hopefully it gets executed.
There are also, we have grants currently that we're working on. We have some stuff with, finance and personnel, some grants that we're trying to get for late, different things. Let's execute because things that are there are not being done.
And all of a sudden, things look bad. We had a deal.
I'm not sure if that list, do we pass that information on?
The second Rocky, not Rocky 2.
That's all I got.
Why don't we go and talk?
So next first Friday is this Friday, second one of the season, so that's really exciting. Beyond that, I don't know if anybody else has been paying attention to what's going on in Upper Marion. They're dealing with data centers. Right, kind of against. Yeah, so they're big, they take up a lot of electricity and water. The citizens are very upset, but they can't do anything about it because it wasn't in the zoning code when the properties were sold. So I think we might want to add that to our zoning law, so we could avoid that problem.
Absolutely. We had talked about, that, and, that's on the list.
Nice. Yeah, seriously. Thank you. All right, anybody else? No? I think very good. Few discussions that are started and will continue to be ongoing, definitely. And with that, nobody else will close council business and, move on to public comment. At this time, any resident of Ridley Park will have the opportunity to address council. If you would like to speak, please come up to the podium, state your name and address, and you will have 5 minutes.
We're in bad shape, money-wise. Are we?
No, I don't, no.
I can't hear you.
No, I wouldn't say that, that we're in bad shape.
I don't know. You got me confused. We don't have a code enforcer, or we do and he's no good?
We have a code. We have a code enforcer who's Lynn Architect. Lynn Architect does our building permits. He does a good job. We don't have any problem running. But there's nobody that's actually enforcing the actual code itself.
And that's what we need.
That's what we need before, so our last people were Commonwealth, and they kind of did all of that. They had somebody on the street that was driving around looking for those quality of life issues, and also did the building permits. So we just need the other half.
It's been over a year. Two
As
or
long
three.
as they just don't walk along the street, see a crack and put an X on their sidewalks.
They don't, I mean, in the way that we at least have handled it in the past, none of that stuff gets done until a property would be transferred. So you don't have to worry about it. Nobody runs around and spray paints any line or anything.
Good.
But,
So is the light.
there is a but. The but is, let's say the sidewalk elevates and it's a tripping hazard.
Right.
There's some general elements. If it's just what you just said, a crack, that's a different story.
Yeah, but you don't want anybody to trip over that, so I think something like that should be fixed.
Why don't you bring it up 2%?
Now, my next, thing I'd like to say is,
Got a new council.
how are my, stop signs coming along, boys?
Stop sign is there. that's in the fees, that's what, Councilor Thacker was
Yeah,
saying.
that's.
It's in the
that's
fee schedule.
That's on the webpage, so it's separate from our budget.
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry, yes,
I can get you that too, but I can pay for it if you like it.
That's it, I got a lot more, but I can't read it.
Thank you.
Save it for next time.
Okay.
I'll be here.
Hello, Jason Flynn, 48 Hetzel. I'm just coming up here to look for a update on 50 Hetzel. I know that. So we've been working on that last week. We had sent our code enforcement person out there. We have received some pictures and a video of what you were talking about last night.
He said it's rats.
Yeah, and we have the video of the rat coming out of the box. So at this moment, Ryan did go out to the property, post it, and we have to give everybody notice and time to repair it. So we had 5 days to repair it. I believe that 5 days is up tomorrow. Yeah, so then we'll probably be out there tomorrow. I'll be talking to him also to update. But he has been served with the paperwork, he knows about it, and we're gonna see what happens.
You haven't seen that
After
movie
that-
yet, the past couple days?
So, it was posted Friday afternoon, it wasn't received by the homeowner until Monday morning. Unfortunately, I had a powerful camera, and I took a picture of it, read it, because it was open. And it says that he had to cut the grass plus remove any items that would harbor rats and rodents. He cut the grass. The trash pile's still there, the stick pile is still there, and he didn't come today. So he only asked for tomorrow. But I had to rebait the rat traps this weekend. Because I don't know how many rats there are, but either they're able to eat rat poison and not die, or there's a lot of them.
Yeah, so unfortunately, it's kind of a situation where it is like one day at a time, and we have to get.
I got it. What I was
We're
looking to do
go
is,
back and we're gonna check it in, and then take the next step.
I don't want the ball to be dropped, because unfortunately, and I'm getting any pressure. Here's the problem. A year ago, a year and a half ago, we changed a couple of ordinances. One of them, the main stick point was you're not allowed to have indoor furniture outside. Ryan went over there over a year ago, and the gentleman who lives there was able to keep a lazy wood recliner and rugs outside for an entire year. And it was okay. And Ryan said, well, I let him keep it. It was okay with me. I don't understand because the ordinance said it's not okay with you. So I don't want the ball drop on this because I have people to worry about other than myself. I need to make sure this gets done. Sure.
Did he say that to you?
Who?
Ryan?
Yes. Absolutely. Because the resident at 50, I had a couple planks of Trex decking in my side yard. Stacked up, you would never know it was there unless you looked. He made mention to Ryan, well, if I have to do all this, he should have to get rid of his building material. And I said to Ryan goes, well, I don't wanna push him because then he's gonna force me to push you. I'm like, push me, tell me to move it, I'll move it, I'll move right in a second. As soon as I got off the phone with Ryan, I went out and moved everything to a place where nobody would see it again. Why is it, I'm okay with doing it, somebody tells me I gotta cut my grass, or somebody tells me I gotta clean something up, I'm gonna clean it up. But and yes, and Ryan did say that to me, he said, I don't wanna push him, so I'm gonna let him keep it, it's okay.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm sorry that you're going through that, and
For you.
I was a part of the group that changed it to make it better, and when we make rules, they need to be enforced.
It's
Sorry about that.
4 years, somebody said, mentioned earlier 2 years.
I thought it was
It's
two.
4, it's 4. Yeah, it's been fun, but thank you, as long as we're moving forward, that's all I can ask for right now. Thank you.
Can I just ask, back, I'm sorry, Jason? I do have a copy of the violation that was posted on Friday.
Yes,
I spoke to the code officer yesterday.
Yep.
The grass was cut over the weekend.
no, it was cut yesterday.
Okay, then it was yesterday. And there were 2 to 3 bags of trash out front.
There were
the rugs that he was supposed to pick up from a letter Ryan sent him in April that he never did, and a couple rolled up pieces of dirty old rug. That was all that was out there this morning.
Okay, cause Ryan is checking in with me every day.
Ryan is bending the truth to fit his narrative.
Okay, I will address that tomorrow then,
Because
with Ryan.
the best part about it was, the rugs were supposed to be removed in April. The letter from April 28th stated he had to remove all the rugs and that recliner from the yard. He removed the recliner. All he did was, he removed one rug. He took all the rest of the rugs that were visible and put them in a trash can and left them on the front lawn, near his steps. They never moved, they sat in the bag. Monday morning, yesterday, he removed them, threw them all over the driveway again. Then he picked them up again and threw them on another part of the driveway. And then he finally rolled them up and put them in the trash. There's still rugs in the backyard that he hasn't removed. So if that was from a letter from April, and Ryan still hasn't done anything from April 28th, what's he gonna do about this? Because my guess is it's gonna look like the Eagles back in the 90s. He's gonna just drop the ball again.
Okay.
So, listen, I don't have a whole lot of faith in Ryan. He hasn't done squat for 2 to 4 years. So, no offense to anybody who's friends with Ryan, but letting him do stuff that's against code is ridiculous.
Fair enough, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mike Docker, 315 Burke Avenue. Going forward, last time I missed the last meeting, couldn't see anything on TV at all. The screen was blank, I don't know why, but keep an eye on that anyway. Going forward without a code enforcer, tomorrow, what happens tomorrow if somebody doesn't want to cut their grass and do anything? Does a letter go out first to them from the borough? Does somebody deliver that letter to me if my grass is not cut and my house looks like hell? What happens from now until somebody gets hired to do this project?
Can I answer that?
Yeah,
Well, it's my understanding that we're not relieving the code officer of his duties as of right now. But to answer your question, there is a violation that gets posted to the door of the homeowner, of the house where the grass needs to be cut. They have a certain amount of days to address that issue, and if it is not, then a fine is issued, and then they will eventually be abated, which means we'll put a lien against the home, and they'll eventually end up in district court.
I know coming up from Hasten Boulevard, coming up East Hinckley, you can't even walk on the pavement with the person that owns that property. It is so overgrown, it's out over the walkway. And you probably know where it is, it's by the stream down there. It's been that way for many, many years. And I don't know why nothing's ever been done about that. And as I walk around the neighborhood, I do see a lot of homes that are not cutting the grass and not doing what they're supposed to do, just to make it look good. I mean, with concrete blocks and stuff like that, that's one thing, but when you drive by homes and the grass is 9 inches high, and that's not good for the neighborhood, it's not good for Ridley Park. And to not have some way of doing this, and okay, so you do put a notice on their door. We do put a notice on the door.
Yes, it gets posted to the front of their door, and I get a copy of the violation letter.
All right, well,
But just to give you the answer, I had thought we were on the roadmap to, apparently not. Within 2 weeks, the next meeting, we're gonna figure it out, and we'll come up with some kind of options that we can take to kind of speed things up a little bit, and we'll take it from there.
like you're saying, you could hire a retired guy and drive around and pick out the
there's a
houses
lot
that
we
are
can
done.
do.
Yeah, I mean, right away, you can do that right away until, in 2 weeks, you can get a lot of stuff done.
Absolutely.
And, you know, if we're waiting for 2 weeks and then we have to, then the guy goes around and drives around and stuff like that, I mean, I don't know where we're going with it.
I mean, we don't have to vote on it and all that, but I would assume that we would have it done.
Okay. The other one is, Swarthmore and Sellers Avenue, just keeps going down, man.
Where the grade is, right?
Yeah. And there's another, it looks like something else in there, they filled it in one time, it's,
It's definitely, alright, we thought we got good feedback from them, so, yeah, if you wanna reach out to them again, we'll do that.
okay, thank you very much.
on video, they would lean to people, they were very, very unpopular with bad actors. People that didn't take care of their property, people that were slumlords, they were very unpopular with. But it didn't cost the borough 1 cent. That company would come, they would do the job, they would lean the property, they would clean, and when they cut your lawn, they cut it for a lot of money. Because you were paying for the legal fees and media, you were paying for the administrative staff, but at the end of the day, we didn't have people talking about rats. We didn't have someone saying, I've been here since April, and the property still has rats. That would have been cut 5 times by now. It would have been baited, they would cleaned all that stuff out of the yard, and the person would have got a bill. When they go to sell that empty house, they might have a lien of $20,000. That's really not the borough's problem. That's the owner's problem, so they just make less money. But there is a way around this. We had a solution to it at one point in time. Don't know what happened in the solution, but we probably had enough bad actors complain, and then we hear people complaining. The stop signs on Burke Avenue, I can't tell you how opposed I am to more stop signs. I didn't choose to live in Southwest Philadelphia. I don't want this town looking like Southwest Philadelphia. People will come up here every month and ask for a stop sign on every block, and will end up looking like the city. That's not what I want. There was probably 30 kids in that street when I grew up over there. No one ever got ran over with no stop signs. Teach your kids to look both ways. That's all I got.
The only issue that, I agree with you, the only issue is that bridge on 420 was in construction. They're cutting through, all the way through, down to Chester Pike, and that's the reason.
I get you, Mike. You put the stop signs up, they're here forever.
Yeah, they don't stop.
It'll look trash. If I wanted to live in the city, I'd move to the city.
All right, up to Andy.
Andy Furman, 419 Conway Street. This code enforcement issue, okay? Now, first of all, Mr. Garrett, with all due respect, you're making it sound like Lynn Architects has been in this job for the last couple months,
I
okay?
never said that.
Well, I know you didn't, but you're making it sound that way, at least from where I'm sitting.
Thank you, good.
Okay, that's the way it's coming across.
Okay.
They've been in this position for 4 years, or whatever, I'm sorry, I don't know if it's been 4 years, but it's certainly been
Long time.
a couple of years. And they've been doing the same type of job for that, time frame. And now all of a sudden, we've got a problem in mid-year, and I have a funny feeling that this new code person, whoever, we're talking about, has not been budgeted. Okay?
Probably not.
Probably not. So here's one more thing, that we're going over budget in the middle of the year, just like, in due respect, Mr. Taggart, the painting. That's what you bring up at the end of the year when you're going into the next budget cycle. Or those kinds of capital projects, not in the middle of the summer. So all of a sudden, we've got a problem with code enforcement, out of the blue, sort of thing, that we have different mechanisms already in place, but now all of a sudden, we need somebody to drive around the borough. And like I said, maybe we do. And that's what gets discussed at the end of the year and is put into the budget. But it's one thing after another, and Mr. Berger, I brought up to you, a month or 2 ago about, contacting the borough engineer just to contact PennDOT, where, the borough manager could make a call, quote unquote, for free, to PennDOT. So it's concerning me as a resident, one thing after another that's getting added to the budget in midstream, okay? Mr. Berger, if you don't mind, I'll have a couple of minutes left.
I will be responding.
Okay, thank you. The borough manager, Trish, if you don't mind, regarding the Greenways grant, that you just mentioned, how much money are we talking about? That's being applied for?
268,000.
200?
68.
And 68,000. And that's all for the extension of the trail?
Yes.
Okay. When would we expect to get an answer on that?
Literally, we just applied for it last week. So I'm hoping.
But is it a rolling thing, or do they make all their decisions at one point, whatever that date would be?
I
You know
think
what I
they
mean?
make their decisions all at one point.
But you don't know what the date is?
No.
Okay, there's the borough manager applying for grants, and beautiful, it's a beautiful job. Beautiful, hold that thought,
Hold
hold
on,
that thought.
yeah,
It's a beautiful, it's a beautiful thing. You know, like I was telling one of the residents, you know, it's not as if writing a grant is a specialty item that can be done by one person in the county. I mean, you know, maybe some are better than others, but, you know, there's a lot of people that can apply for grants, and the borough engineer, you've done that before also. I mean, Trish, this isn't the first grant you've applied for,
Usually
correct?
the engineer does assist me with that.
Assist you.
We work together.
Okay, yeah, very well. Assist is one thing, giving it to the borough engineer to do the whole thing is another.
Well, the borough manager is required to apply for it. So yes, we work together, you know, we discuss what grants we prefer to apply for, and then, you know, we take it from there.
Okay, well, without getting into who decides what gets applied for, so that we're all on the same page for next year, if there's any grant available, can we please be looking into the second phase of dredging the lake? If not the third phase also, so that, you know, the fountain can operate properly, you know, under a proper depth, you know, of
We got $30,000 the last time we dredged the lake.
Pardon me?
We were awarded $30,000 the last time we dredged the lake.
Yeah, but you know, Rich, that was a drop in the bucket.
I
think
know,
it was.
I agree with
It cost
you.
it
And there are
minimum
people that
$250,000.
There are people that are present here that advocated for this borough, and we should do the same thing. Go to county council and say, hey, we need money. $500,000 is not something that's a drop in the dime for anyone.
No, I
We should
understand.
never have to pay that by ourselves. So 30 grand is what we got.
I understand that, especially when you're talking about the lake, it's getting that runoff from a lot of different
I
municipalities.
agree. Good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Perfect. You're a pro.
There's a reason for that.
So here we go. First of all, I'm going to work backwards on what Avi mentioned. Greenways grant, which Charles Contended
Here we go.
presented to the borough. You brought it up. I'm gonna ice it now.
Do I get a couple more minutes?
Listen, no, you need to now
Take it out there anyways.
relax and listen. So Charles Contender presented this, a great initiative that me, prior to becoming mayor of Ridley Park, I got behind 9 times over for the mayor. In this case, I can say I went and sourced a organization that would contribute to the funds that the borough would ultimately need to put up to be able to solidify this grant. So there was a portion of it that needs matching funds.
How much?
At the time, I believe it was approximately 40,000, 26 to 40,000.
Okay.
Okay? They are still waiting in the wings. So, that's one thing. So again, what Trish did, which was great, once we were told, no, we did not receive that grant, she went right back into it and put it right back in there for us to hopefully pull it next year. Okay? It is a process. It does take time. It stinks. But she communicated very well to this organization that is still willing. Today, they communicated back to us, they are still willing to put up those matching funds. So that's a positive. Put that aside. Now, in terms
But one
of,
thing, it doesn't stink if you get $250,000, okay? So again, so we're on the same page.
it's great, and we're not gonna stop. And the thing is, to run a borough effectively, you need all these elements working simultaneously. You need, yes, the borough manager to be looking at any low-hanging fruit that we can jump on. But you also need the engineer to be in tune with opportunities for Ridley Park, to understand Ridley Park, and to be able to see some of these things for themselves. That's my opinion. I'll go to my grave with that opinion. Now,
Does anyone
this is not a
disagree?
back and forth thing. This now,
Doggone it.
you sitting, like I listen to you, you now need to refrain and listen.
Okay.
So, back to code enforcement. Code enforcement. Okay, we're not gonna stop doing our job. So in other words, when we get notified by residents, we're walking the streets, we're out and about, we're all out and about. And when residents come to us with a problem, we're not gonna sit on our hands and say, oh, can't do anything, not in the budget. No, we're not gonna say that. Now, back to the bridge. Yes, I feel this is an absolute juggernaut for our town. You go through our town, we have countless streets stepping to the podium because they are inundated with cars, with detours. You go out and look at the detour signs. The detour signs
Bob, it's
throughout
been
the
going
borough.
on for 4
This is not
years.
for you. This is not just for you. The detour signs all over our town are insane. Sometimes they are 8 feet by 3 feet, and sometimes there's 8 of them pushed up right against each other, up and down all these streets. It needs to be cleaned up. It needs to be looked at. There needs to be an understanding how much are needed. You know, you don't need 9 signs telling you make a left on this street or a right on this street. These are all things that make our town ugly right now. Asking the engineer to hold the company that has a signed contract to its timeline is a fair request, in my opinion.
It's a waste of time, waste of time.
Getting back
And
real
money.
plain answers
And money.
of, oh, we can't staff it, needs to be not an acceptable answer to our town.
People
We've
are already
struggled with
doing
this
the
forever.
job.
And again, I'll ask the borough president to keep you in line and to say, this is not a back and forth just for Andy. This is for everyone's point.
I'm just gonna talk about, I know it sounds like I'm attacking the current engineer. This is not an attack of the current engineer. This was what was brought to my attention before we even had our first meeting, that this engineering company excelled at grant finding. This was what I was told before we sat at our first meeting. So I'm just making them accountable for what I was told, what was sold to me to try to accept it. So I understand, and I'm not directing this towards one individual in the audience, I'm just saying this in general. I need them to be everything that was brought to my attention. That's what I was told. I'm sorry I keep bringing up the past engineer, it's just the only example I have to compare to the current engineer. So it's not a situation where I'm saying currently everything's horrible and it's wrong. It's not going well, in my opinion, but at the same time, there's gotta be some progress and we have to figure out how to make it work. I just want it to be something where they're bringing it to our attention, like, hey, you might miss this one, you might miss that one. And I agree with Rich, holding like maybe when it's time for them to talk, an update on the state of the borough from the engineer's point would be a great idea. And I think the last meeting, I did sort of have her do that. It was respectful, it wasn't disrespectful, so I'm sorry if people are tired of hearing about the past. I'm just going by the reference I got before we even had our first meeting, that's what they excel at. And I want that to be the case, because they're here, they're not changing it. So we gotta make it work, so that's why I keep doing and saying what I'm saying. It's no disrespect to the current company, it's definitely a compliment to the old company, but at the same time, let's see something happen. I agree, we have to get everything that we have in place done now before we can maybe move forward, but there's always ways to keep our eyes open what else is coming.
The old company never gave a status report every month. They didn't.
Don't you?
They didn't. I was here.
Share our opinion on everything discussed.
So, sorry, I just wanna add to the code enforcer. Why it's coming up now is because all these months, how many residents have come up and brought issues to us?
There was
So
no
it's
problem
discussed.
last year at this time.
Yes, there was. Yes, there was. It's a shame that you didn't see it.
But listen,
Your
our
problem's
thing
been
is
going on
that
for a while.
we're not
I
waiting till
respect that.
December to then have a discussion about this. It should be brought up now. Obviously, budget's an issue. If we don't hire someone because of budget reasons, that'll be discussed, that'll be in next year's budget. But I think we need to discuss now, look at it and go, hey, can we get somebody here now? I think that needs to be done now and not waited.
If it's done right, it'll pay for itself.
Yeah, sure, right.
anybody else for public comment?
Hi, I'm Susan Braccio, 18 Partridge Avenue. I just wanted to, bring another event to, everyone's attention. Tomorrow, or Thursday, June 4th, is Pints in the Park. Each time we have Pints in the Park, we have different vendors, different food vendors, different craft vendors, music, fun for the family. Right over at the Todd Lock behind the firehouse, so the next one will be June 18th, and that will be our last one for the summer. I did want to bring another thing to your attention, just from my knowledge in the past, as far as 32 West Cellars goes. I believe you're going to have to actually pass a resolution that would be presented at settlement, so that's something you might want to keep in mind, because that's something that has to happen in order for the transaction to take place.
Is that something we need to do ahead of time?
Yes.
Okay.
It has to be in effect for, I believe, 30 days, so the resolution would have to be passed 30 days before the closing transaction. The last thing I wanted to talk about and maybe just get some information on is the footbridge, that goes over to Lakeview School. I walk sometimes and it just seems a little rickety. I don't know if that ever gets inspected. I mean, I know school year's just about over, so kid traffic might slow down, but, you know, it's also a time of year where people walk a lot, and it just seems a little rough over there. I don't know if that's something that's on the radar that maybe we could add to the radar. Is it something that's being looked at all? Is it inspected?
Have we had any?
What's the exact address of this particular bridge you're talking about?
The footbridge that goes from Ridley to Hinkley?
The Amtrak, Trish. The one that we have funded, we have funded.
Rosemont.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
So I think we recently,
We were awarded an LSA grant, it has not been executed at this point. We are waiting on, we were actually asked for an extension, but we're too early for to ask for the extension, so we do have 6 months, and we're gonna discuss on council how we want to move forward with that. But at this point, we have not been able to execute that.
Maybe you can get in effect by, September when school starts again. That would be awesome.
Thank you.
anybody else?
Mike Gale, 51 Collier Circle. I wasn't gonna get up here, but I just let you know that last Wednesday, 2 residents and myself, talked to the Board of Health. We had 2 issues. One issue was 50 Hetzel, where, there was pictures, video of rats going in and out of the stick pile that's in the driveway of this property. The Board of Health said that they were gonna contact borough manager, contact code enforcement, and they did, and they did post a notice, giving them 5 days, and actually I'm hopeful that maybe the homeowner doesn't clean it up. I'd rather see the borough clean it up and clean everything up. The property's been a problem for years. It's an eyesore now. It's harboring rodents, rats. So I'm thankful that happened, thanks to whoever made that happen. I think the borough manager was involved, code enforcement. We also talked to Board of Health, we have a rat problem I'll call it Upper Collier and Hetzel. And there's some residents that think it's related to the construction that's been going on at Jehovah's Witnesses. Maybe it stirred something up. We really don't know, but it's an issue. The Board of Health didn't have too many answers for us on that. I just wanted to say, it used to be on the outer Collier Circle. We had a problem that was going back to the Catania, and they went through and just took off all the wooded area, the trees, shrubs, all that stuff. And we're still having some ongoing problems with that, but now it's in the inner circle, and I heard from other residents on the inner circle of Collier and did come and clean it up. But the problem is the backyard. The backyard hasn't been touched. If I'm correct, possibly last year, it may not have been cut all year long. And there's some residents that abut that property that are having issues, but that could be part of this rat problem too. So I guess I'm just up here to ask you if you could have somebody come out, or a code, or somebody, or the Board of Health, whoever, and look at the backyard at 8 College Circle and see what can be done. And I hope this other property can get cleaned up. So, thank you.
Absolutely, thank you very much. Anybody else for public comment? Going once, going twice. Okay. So we'll close public comment at this time and move on to the action items. And just before we go ahead with those.
You need it. Okay. So I'd like to make a motion. I'm sorry, motion to allow the treasurer, to the borough manager to execute all documents in regards to land donation of 32 months.
And I'll second that. Do I have any comments or questions? All of those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. And the motion carries, so.
One more thing, I just want to,
Sure.
like, Sue, can we, like, does that resolution, could it wait till next meeting, or is it something that?
If you wait till the next meeting, then you won't be able to, accept the
Yeah.
donation
So-
for 30 more days.
I would like to maybe also see if we James amend to make the resolution, to, I don't know the exact, wording of that.
Do we know Sue, sorry to isolate the liquor in the audience, but the exact verbiage of what that kind of resolution is for?
What Mike has said would be perfectly fine,
Okay. So,
but it just has to be a resolution,
okay.
voted on by council.
So is that separate from what I said prior, or?
You can't, just making the motion to allow her is not the same as voting on a resolution.
Do both, right? All in the same.
Now, the resolution has been written, you know, like,
It's just gonna say the same then. We have to drag it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not gonna.
You can't pass a resolution that's not in writing.
That's fine, it's just, I worry that we reading it, so.
So, well, we have that amended on the agenda for the execution. We'll go ahead and see how fast we can get that done, we can make sure we get it in the next meeting, hopefully that's something that we can take care of. And then, I don't know if, Melissa wanted to add to the.
Just to change, to add to the verbiage, I'd make a motion to add verbiage for the two, part-timers and police officers. If we can add that the position is for part-time police officers for both Andrea and Sean.
And I'll second that as well. Any comments or questions? All those in favor say aye. And that is added to the agenda. So, then we'll go first up on the action items. We have a motion to appoint Gabriel Walgren as junior counselor.
Make a motion.
Counselor Nier makes the motion. Counselor Moran seconds. Do I have any comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. And the motion carries. And then next up, we have a motion to hire Andrew Tisia, if I said that correctly, as a part-time police officer at $26 an hour pending a background check. I'll be the maker of that motion. Do I have a second? Counselor McGinley seconds. Do I have any comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. And the motion carries. Next up is a motion to hire Sean Mackey as part-time police officer at $30 an hour pending background check. I'll be the maker of that motion. Do I have a second? Counselor Rand seconds. Do I have any comments or questions?
Did we already talk about the reason why we're hiring these part-timers to?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, yeah,
Because we
I
lost-
can, yeah, because we lost 2 part-time police officers.
Yeah, I just wanted,
motion to cancel workshop meetings for July seventh, 2026, and August 4th, 2026. Councilor Pierre makes the motion. Do I have a second? Councilor McGinley seconds. Do I have any comments or questions? Hearing. Oh,
I just wonder about the rationale. I'd love to have 2 extra meetings off. It seems like there's
I think that's just, that's how it's been.
usually,
Yeah, during
Yeah.
the summer months,
I mean,
especially because there's
precedent.
vacations and.
Cool. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think at one time we even held it a half hour prior, but I feel like.
And can always schedule,
We
we
can,
can
yeah.
schedule a meeting at any time that we need to.
Yeah.
We always just, with vacations and stuff, it gives
more flexibility.
people more flexibility to be able, all of us to be able to do that.
So with that in mind, if anything does come up that we do need to discuss, that does give us a little bit more room for flexibility. We can all come together and figure out a date that might work.
We used to do June, July, August, I believe, right?
Yeah, we just missed,
We got
June.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if anything comes up, we can come together and,
And it does also meet the criteria for what we need to do.
Yeah.
You have to have one public meeting in a month, that's the way the rules are. It meets that criteria as well.
awesome. So, any other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay, and the motion carries. And then lastly, we have the motion to allow Patricia Hollowell to execute
All documents
all documents
in regards to the land donation
in regards to the land donation
of 32 West Summers Avenue.
of 32 West Sellers Avenue. Do I have a maker of this
I'll
motion?
make that motion.
Counselor McGinley?
Second.
Counselor Viera seconds. Do I have any comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay, and the motion carries. And just before we wrap up tonight, just to let everybody know, after this, we will be having an executive session, just to discuss some contract and personnel matters. And then we will go ahead and see, does anybody have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Counselor Viera has a motion to adjourn.
I got a quick question. So, will we have the half hour prior to the meeting like we've had before for the, or is it just gonna be the
Yeah,
meeting?
just gonna be a meeting.
Just a regular meeting.
Good question.
Very good question. Counselor Viera had the motion to adjourn, Counselor McGinley, or Counselor Boyce had second. Any comments or questions?